Hi, everybody. It's Debbie. This is Spooky Things. I'm I'll be alone tonight because Devin has a cold, and I guess when some people have a cold, they do pretty good, and when other people get a cold, they're dying. And he's the former, so we all wish him well with his cold. Um, so tonight, I kind of wanted to recap 2025 about things that happened last year and are good, of course, continuing on into this year. There was a lot of really interesting things that that happened last year. There was the incidents of cryptozoology. There was incidences with Nessie, and that was really interesting. We lost a couple of people last year in the paranormal community, and that was really bad. But as far as everything in a whole, paranormal activity has taken on because so many people are watching it now. So many people are paying attention to it, and it's getting really a lot more in depth into what people are finding. And it's really had so many think tanks that really has people thinking about they're not just dissing it. They're not saying, okay, well, this is crap. Some people still are. But for the most part, a lot of people are not taking the big, oh, this is just crap. We're not, we don't believe this and it just can't be true. You know. Um, and they're really starting to look at a lot of the evidence that's being presented to them. And there's conspiracy theories up the yin talking about um, it's just like a plethora of things. Where I'm sitting here and I'm looking at a lot of this stuff, and it's just amazing to me that of what's going on. Everything from cloud seeding to uh, uh, oh my God, it's just so much. The Earth being flat, it's not round. Um, oh, and Prince Charles is supposedly a closet vampire. What the heck? Um, it's just bizarre stuff that's going on out there. I want to go on ahead and to zero in on on some stuff that I've been looking at here, and it's been actually really fascinating. So let me go on ahead and search for what I've been trying to get a hold of here. Okay, so I'm trying to pull this up. Okay, here we go. Some really wild stuff on here. Okay, so basically, the big thing, I mean, the really, really big thing from last year, of course, is the 31 Atlas. I mean, and that went on for months. Um, UAPs and the interstellar mystery. Um, the conversation around unidentified aerial phenomenon, which is UAP. It is shifted from if they existed to what are they? So everybody's seeing it. They just want to know, well, what the heck is it? The three eye atlas speculation. One of this year's last year's biggest headlines involved the Interstellar Project 31 Atlas. Controversial claims, most noted from W.E.B.B, suggested a significant chance that the object was of artificial origin, sparking intense debate between SETI researchers and alternate theorists. That was a big deal. And Deb and I were talking about it, and is this thing, like from, well, we know it's from outer space. I mean, that's obvious. But is there intelligent life about Three Eye Atlas? Um, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. I really would. Um, One of the things that kind of grabbed me on it is that they were saying that it didn't have its own light that it would emit. Well, that's what I was seeing. I was seeing that it was creating its own light, and it was very animated with the light, and I thought that that was really interesting. I'm getting caught up in my own hair here. Um, but that was one of the really big things that I noticed about 3A Atlas. It fascinated me. It truly did. It moved like it had a determined path that it would take. Um, but yet we saw it move off of the path a few times. It seemed like it was being guided by something other than just something just natural, you know. Um, that was just me. That was just an observation that I had made, that I thought, "Hmm, this doesn't look just like a comet, or it. I'm sorry, it just didn't. Not to me. Could I be wrong? Sure, it wouldn't be the first time, but that's the way it looked to me. That's just my impression. That's just my theory on it. Um, the sightings, how many sightings that there were. 2025 saw a massive spike in reports, with over 2,000 sightings logged by mid-year. Regional hotspots included New York, which recorded 66 sightings in the first half of the year alone, featuring metallic spheres and objects making impossible right angle turns. Um, I don't know if you guys remember it or not, but was it last year? No, I think it was the year before, where we had a number of people on the phone, and we were talking, you know, amongst our, and we were all seeing the same thing that they're talking about here, is objects making impossible moves, that a star, it can't be a star because a star just sits there. But this thing was all kinds of things going all over the sky. And it wasn't a helicopter, it wasn't a plane, it wasn't a drone. It was something that was way up there, and it was really doing all kinds of stuff. And they were intermeshing with each other, and actually, it was like they were doing a dance up there. And that was really amazing. And it wasn't just us that saw it; it was different people that we were talking to at different parts of the country. And but yet we were all seeing the same thing. So that was very, very, very interesting. So yeah, 2025 was an interesting year. We actually saw that a year before, but still. Congressional pressure was heavy in 2025. Renewed hearings in Washington continued to press the Pentagon for transparency, particularly regarding the UAP interfering with commercial air traffic and flying over sensitive facilities. It's coming to a head. A lot of people are seeing them. A lot more people are speaking out and said, "We saw that." And it's showing up bad for the government, because it's like, we're not idiots. We know what we saw. And, don't keep telling us that we saw a weather balloon. How many flipping weather balloons are there up there? These are not things like this. We know what we're seeing. We're seeing them. We want to have answers. Like the gig's up. What's going on? So Congress is really getting to a point of saying, look, we can't BS them anymore. It's time to spill the beans. And it's way past the time that they did. Um, so interstellar stuff was really big in 2025. AI Atlas was a huge contribution to that. And between AI Atlas and the other sightings that were going on, it was a monumentous year for people saying, enough. We want answers. And we should have had them a long time ago, but we really want them now. Um, Another thing that made a lot of the news for 2025 was the world of cryptozoology, and as you know, that's one of the areas that I'm just really very fascinated in. I have been most of my life. The first time that I saw something that I couldn't explain, it really led me down the path of really looking into cryptozoology, and that happened when I was 16. And ever since then, I've just really, been interested in cryptozoology, and I've really tried to keep up with it as well as I can. Um, so 2025 was very active in cryptozoology and what was going on. Um, so it's like legend versus loss. In the world of cryptid hunting, it faced both hoaxes and the end of an era. Bigfoot legislation and hoaxes. You're always going to have those. So you just have to deal with it. An effort to name Bigfoot as the state cryptid of California failed to pass. I didn't really think that was going to pass in the first place, but meanwhile, the New York State Fair was hit by a high profile Bigfoot corpse, but it was a hoax that fooled many after being debunked. You know, it's at a world fair. You would think that at something like the New York State Fair, it's world renowned, what they would have there, you know, you think that they'd be you think that they'd be more in tune to the fact that we can't have junk here. Whatever we have has got to be real. And that disappoints me into knowing that they debunked it. They should never have been there. It put a bad light on the New York State Fair, and it put a bad light on Bigfoot because it's like, oh, it's just another lie. That's all we hear. That's all we see. That's all we hear. Just the lies. And that ticks me off because I know for a fact that they're out there. I know that for a fact. Have I seen it? Yeah. Once. And it only takes once. It's only took me once, I tell you that. But they are out there. I don't know what else to say about it, but they really are. And to allow something like that to pass through something as big as the state fair, shame on you. Just really and truly shame on you. You didn't help the Bigfoot community out at all, and you sure didn't gain the you know trust of a lot of your people that went to go see that. And it's like, let's just say it's a waste of time. If you're not going to put something out there that's real, don't do it. So that was a huge disappointment. That really was. I was like, we got enough going on, trying to keep things online, to have a big institution like that get caught in having something that's a hoax. Shame on you. Um, okay, so they had a big loss in the cryptid community. The community mourned the passing of Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum. Hey, how you doing? Um, it's one of the most. He was one of the most. Hi, Michael. He was one of the few tenured to provide serious scientific backing to the Bigfoot phenomenon. And I'm sorry, Joe Nickell, the world's most prominent skeptical investigator. One thing that we can't have enough of is skeptical investigators. They are the ones who keep it, as they all say, honest men honest. They don't have to be ridiculously like poof off everything, but a serious investigator who isn't going to believe everything that gets thrown at them, but to things that are possible, they'll give it a chance. It's like, prove it to me. Let me see. You prove it to me. And I might believe it. I might believe it. But you got to prove it to me. There's nothing better for a good investigation than a skeptical investigator. They keep things on the level. And when you have people that are so highly intelligent and so highly trained into what they're investigating, man, it's just, they're hard to come by. And this was a huge loss. It really was. The one that, for the Bigfoot, Dr. Meldrum, what a loss that is. I mean, he really provided so much information, and it's just a really terrible loss with Dr. Meldrum and as I stated, Mr. Joe Nickell. Now let's going into another cryptid that made a big impact. The San Juan sea serpent. Now this happened in September. Several reports emerged of a sea serpent. This sea serpent is also called the Cadborosaurus. Cadborosaurus. I think they picked the hardest to say names for these critters. I really do. It's like, how hard can we make it? Let's see them try to say this. This one's good. Cadborosaurus. Anyway, it's a sea serpent. I like that better. In the waters near San Juan Island, reigniting interest in Pacific Northwest marine mysteries. And there's been a lot of it coming out of the Pacific. I don't know why, but the Pacific Northwest is a hot spot for a lot of this stuff going on. And really, when you look at the lines going around the globe, that area up there, all around the globe, going into that, well, what we call the longitude, the latitude lines, but into that same area up there, all the way around the globe, it's like so many reports come up from that particular part of the world. It's just amazing. It's really amazing. So you take into account the Loch Ness monster, Nessie, and it's on one side of the globe, but then you come around to the United States side, and there's the Lake Champlain with the Lake Champlain monster, what they call it. It's on the same line. It's just on different parts of the globe, but they're basically around that same line. It's really interesting, but there's a lot coming from there. Um, Hauntings and investigations. It was it, it was a pretty good year that was going on. Modern technology is being used to revisit old legends with new results. There's constantly new equipment that's come out, reevaluations of ideas that used to be, and now you've got people who are thinking outside of the box ever even more. So with everything, it's kind of like a big pot that you got in the middle, and everybody's putting information into it. And a lot of it was getting stale for years because everybody's just thinking the same thing, but not a whole lot is going on. Well, the past few years, that's kind of changing. And with new equipment that's coming out, some of the stuff that I've seen is like mind blowing. And so, different ways to investigate. Um, Different ways of seeing things. You're able to hear things better with more clarity. The pictures are not just all grainy and fuzzy. They're really starting to get that clarity to the pictures. You're being able to see it a lot easier. Um, uh, Stuff like this makes a big difference. When you're trying to prove something and you've got outdated equipment or non existent equipment, you got to it's what you have to do. You have to prove it. It's like, prove it to me. Well, we're trying, but we can't do that. With today's equipment, now you can. And it's just most amazing on what people have actually come up with. Um, so with the new technology, you got to stay on top of it because there's a lot of things going on. You blink, and it's like we've already discovered that. It's pretty cool. The nuke UFO connection. This is pretty cool. A fascinating study published in Scientific Reports in October of 2025 linked historical UFO sightings to flashes captured on old sky plates near nuclear test sites, suggesting a statistical correlation between nuclear activity and UAP presence. Um, it kind of begs to wonder, does the nuclear explosion attract the UAP presence, or could there have been some kind of activity from the UAP that could have either ignited this kind of activity or added to it or changed it somehow? It would be interesting to see what the connection. But they're saying that it is just really either when they set the nuclear activity off, they're drawn to it. That's a fascinating study there. And to me, it sounds very likely. Chicago's most haunted. 2025 saw a resurgence of interest in the West 22nd place in Chinatown, which local experts now call the most haunted block in Chicago, citing new EVP, which of course is electronic voice phenomena, evidence collected during the city's annual Parafest. And what I like about that is that it wasn't just a hidden investigation with like maybe 3 to 5 people there. It was just a real small group, and they caught this on this one night. No, this was in the middle of a Parafest with lots of people there, and so a lot of people experienced this, and that's fabulous. So that again, it's new equipment coming out, and it's just being able to put it as evidence, hard evidence. This is really happening. It just didn't happen to 2 or 3 people. It was a whole crowd of people that heard this, that got this on the recording. So I find that to be fascinating. The White Hart Inn. This is in Devon, England, and this happened just like a couple months ago. In December of 2025, investigation at this historic pub went viral after researchers claimed to capture structured light anomalies and disembodied voices using full spectrum cameras. Again, your equipment. Your equipment had a lot to do with this. But this is this is good news for the paranormal community because a lot more is being taken very seriously, and I like that they're able to actually put this on film. They're actually able to record these sounds, and to be able to say, this is it. This is what we experienced verbatim. This is it. And have it collaborated with a lot of other people. This is what we need to do in order for people to really be taking it serious, which I know a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't. Now, you're never going to get everybody to agree with that. You're always going to have the skeptics. That's cool. That's fine, you know. But don't be a skeptic without any reason behind being a skeptic, you know. So, a lot of people will just, they ain't having it, and it doesn't matter what you say and what you do, it just doesn't matter. But you know, do your research on why you don't think it is. We're doing everything we can do to give you the research on why it is. Give us a better reason other than, nah, I just don't believe it. You've seen it. So, so this is what the major paranormal events of 2025 was: the Windy City Parafest, the one we were just talking about in Chicago, Illinois. And it's a massive 4-day celebration of ghost storytelling and investigations. So the investigation was the one that we were just talking about. The Ghosts of the Pennsylvania Wilds, of course, is in Pennsylvania. Now, this is a month-long series of investigations into rural legends like the Vanishing Hitchhiker. Okay, so this was really big in 2025. And the other one that we have here is the Paranormal Activity Live in LA, California. It's a new stage play based on the film franchise that allegedly used real illusion tech to mimic the hauntings. So that would be interesting to see, a play of that without being able to use the tricks of the camera. It would be interesting to see how they played all that off. Um, so that's, 2025, but there was quite a bit more that had gone on. As we all know, we had the Annabelle tour, and Mr. Dan Rivera, who was a major part of that tour, um, he ended up passing away before the end of the tour. And then, of course, there was all the speculation going on because of it being Annabelle. I don't think so. I think that just, sometimes things just happen. Do I think Annabelle had anything to do with it? No, I don't. I think that just bless his heart, he had some issues going on, and everybody wants to blame something like Annabelle, but we lost a really good person, and he had some issues with his heart, and it happened. What can you do? But he's greatly missed, I must say. Um, there are other things here. Um, there, let's let's go and talk about the Loch Ness sightings. Um, it was called the Black Mass sightings. Um, its home is in the Scottish Highlands. It's a geographical giant with enough water to make every other lake in the UK look like a puddle of Loch Ness. The thing is huge. This thing is just huge. Um, while it isn't the longest or the deepest loch in Scotland, Loch Ness holds the crown for volume. So it has more water in England and Wales. It has more water than England and Wales put together. It contains more fresh water than all of the lakes in England and Wales combined. That's impressive. It reaches about 230 meters, which is about 755 feet deep. And that's at its deepest point. To put that into perspective, the Eiffel Tower could almost fit inside. That's deep. Oh my goodness, that's deep. The visibility on it is famous for being pitch black. It's like an inky pitch black. And it isn't mud, it's a high concentrated concentration of peat that washed in from the surrounding hills, making it the perfect hiding spot for a shy cryptid. From everything that I've read and researched into it, if a cryptid would be in any lake, that would be the lake. That would be the perfect one for it to be in. Its size, its volume, the depth, everything. And even the bottom of it would support something like that. If there was going to be something, it would be there. It never freezes. This loch never freezes because of its immense volume. The water temperature stays at a constant 6 degrees, it's 43 degrees Fahrenheit year round, meaning it never freezes, even in the harshest Scottish winters. Because there's so much water. I mean, it's just so, if you want to use the word thick, it's so dense of water. It doesn't freeze. That's pretty cool, too. Now, the legend of Nessie, the mystery of the Loch Ness Monster. The first sighting, the earliest reports date back to 565 AD, when St. Columba reportedly banished a water beast back into the depths. Of course, that was a long time. That was 565 AD. Now, the 1930 boom. Modern Nessie mania began in 1933 after a local road was built, providing the first clear views of the water. The famous surgeon's photograph in 1934 fueled the fire for decades before being revealed as a hoax involving a toy submarine. Let's fast forward up to now. The 2526 updates. Just today, February the 3rd, just today, News broke that an underwater camera lost by researchers in the 1970s was recovered by a remote sub and restored on the show The Repair Shop. While it didn't capture a monster, it's a cool piece of history. In 2025, several dark mass sightings were officially registered, keeping the mystery alive for a new generation. It's not going away anytime soon, that's for sure. Um, a lot of people go visit a lot of things around this loch. There's I'm probably not going to pronounce this correctly, Urquhart, Urquhart Castle. It's a 13th century ruins that sits right at the edge of the loch and offers the best vantage point for monster sighting. So a lot of people like to go there for that. There's the Loch Ness Center. It's located in. Okay, I know I'm going to slaughter this. All right, here we go. Drumnadrokit. Drumacot? Drumad. Drumnadrokit. Drumnadrokit. Say that 3 times. I can't say it once. Okay. It uses sonar and scientific data to walk you through the loch's 500 million year history. 500 million year old thing. That's pretty cool. And of course, there's Cherry Island. That's the loch's only island. It's actually a crannog, a man made island built during the Iron Age for protection. I mean, it is absolutely fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. So, I mean, the Loch Ness Monster has got a lot that's, it's just been years and years and years. And every year, something else goes on. And every time you think, oh, yeah, you know, we've heard enough, something else goes on. Now, I'm looking at something else here. And I want to tell you guys about this. It's a dogman. Dogman. Here we go. It's called the Bladenboro Dogman. And it's interesting because it's kind of like a vampire beast kind of a thing, what they call it. But it is and it isn't. So it's from North Carolina, and this, they're saying that they've got dash cam footage of this from last year. That's why I'm bringing it up. So this is already back into the spotlight yet once again, that there has been another sighting of this thing. We'll see. But it's called the Beast of Bladenboro, and it's a mysterious creature that terrorized a North Carolina town during the late 1953 and early 1954, causing panic by killing livestock and dogs. Described as a large cat-like animal, it's a panther or a bear, that sucked blood and crushed jaws. It prompted massive hunts before disappearing. Key details of the incident. So, the attack started in December of 1953. Numerous dogs and livestock were found dead in Bladen County, often with their skulls crushed or their bodies drained of blood. Witnesses described a creature about 4.5 foot long, weighed about 150 pounds, with a long tail and a cat-like face, sometimes likened to a black panther or bear. The incidents gathered national attention, drawing hunters and journalists to the area. Police Chief Roy Flores reported finding tracks bigger than a silver dollar. While many believed that it was a large rogue cat like a cougar or a bobcat, others speculated it was a supernatural creature. The event is cemented in local folklore, and Bladenboro now holds the annual Beast Fest in October. The creature was never actually identified. It was never officially identified or captured, and the attacks abruptly stopped in January of 1954. However, however, there was a sighting that they claim is actual dash cam footage of a sighting of the dog man just last year. So, you know, it just kind of just keeps on going, on and on and on. Um, there's lots of stories that get started by an incident that probably never gets fully explained, and then that incident turns into kind of like an urban legend, more or less, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Um, it's interesting because these animals can exist. And when I look at something like this, I'm looking at something more like a cryptid. It it could just be an animal that just hasn't been identified yet. Um, that's mine and Michael Fox's stomping grounds, really. Bladenboro? This is Destiny Fox that's on here. And she's saying that this area is her and Michael's stomping grounds. Well, you guys might know a lot about this then. Um, I mean, there's so much on this. And they're saying it's, Destiny, you might be familiar. They're saying Asheville as well has had some of the sightings on this. So I'm sorry. I was just looking at something here, but it really is. This is just really very interesting. Um, it so it goes into. I wanna tell you about this right here. It says a creature responsible for a string of deaths amongst Bladenboro, North Carolina animals in the winter of 53 to 54. According to witnesses and trackers, it was likely a wildcat. That's where I'm kind of leaning on too. But its identity was ultimately not definitively confirmed. According to reports, the animal commonly crushed or decapitated its victims, which were mostly dogs. Oh. Um, on December 31st, 1953, two dogs belonging to a resident of Bladenboro were found dead with a significant amount of blood near their kennels. Their owner reported that the dogs were torn into ribbons and crushed. Various other animals were reported as victims of the velvet-clawed creature's vicious killing spree, most dying violent deaths with their jaws broken backwards or torn off entirely. Even a goat was said to have died with its head flattened. Hmm. Descriptions of the beast itself range from a vampire-like mountain lion to large black saber-toothed bobcat, and it was never caught. Well, big cats are strong. I mean, with the right jaw size and strength, I don't see how it would have a problem crushing the skull of another animal. And you know, I mean, just look, chickens. Okay, chickens. Chickens are constantly getting beheaded from raccoons, possums, raccoons in particular. That seems to be their modus operandi. They'll just pop the heads off of them. They can't pull the whole chicken through the bars, so they'll just take what they can get, and they'll go in there, snatch a chicken, and they run off with a head. Good enough for them. So the poor chicken is left. The body of the chicken is left in the pen. So then the owners come out. They got a bunch of headless chickens out there. It's gruesome, but animals are known for something like that. Debbie, when I was a kid, I seen something like what you're talking about. Is this Teresa? I hung out in Bladensboro. Teresa, is that you? Um, did you really? Or is this Destiny? Oh, Stan. No kidding. Well, I'd like to hear about that, Stan. So these stories are striking a chord with you. You're familiar with these stories then. Um, it just I'm from there. Yeah, yeah. That is so cool. That is so cool. You guys, I had no idea that my producer was actually from Bladenboro. Um, so I mean, I have every reason to believe that this is a cryptid because it has not yet been identified. But I have no reason to think that it's not completely possible that if this particular animal does exist, it can be found out. It doesn't matter how many years it goes by that he hasn't been identified. One day, there's always that one day, somebody is going to find something, find either the creature itself or something close to it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they gotta die. Come on. So somebody's got to be able to find something. Hey, okay. Sorry about that. In any case, so that's the beast of Bladenboro. And Stan, that is fascinating. If you have any stories about that, we'd love to hear them. Um, and there's one other story that yeah, we've got just a little bit of time here. Um, it's very, very interesting story, and it's called The Mangy Bigfoot. Now, this is interesting. The mangy Bigfoot usually refers to a popularly cited yet unproven explanation of Sasquatch sightings, where, according to CBS News and Forbes, observers mistake diseased, hairless bears for the cryptid. If you've ever seen a bear without hair, they're weird looking without hair. They really are. These creatures are described as skinny, long-legged, and having a patchy fur due to the mange sightings, such as the 2007 Jacobs Trail Cam image, excuse me, which are often debated as either a young Bigfoot or sickly bears. And this came out in 2025, where there was several images that had come across that had pictured a Bigfoot type of an animal, but it looked like it was really mangy. And they're really debating now on the similarities between a mangy bear which doesn't happen all the time here. But a mangy bear being mistaken for a Bigfoot, or the other way around. Sarcoptic mange is what causes fur loss, scabby skin, and a strange thin appearance. And I'm up in the air about that one. I really am. Reports often describe the creature as having wrinkled, dark skin, patches of missing fur, and an unusually long, slender, or monkey like appearance, distinguishing them from the classic hairy, robust Sasquatch. But the classic, robust Sasquatch is covered in hair. Covered. So you wouldn't really know that the arms would be skinny unless they didn't have any hair, you know. So I'm sure it would, if true, if true, it would be hard to distinguish if that was a Sasquatch or not, if you're looking at something that is not normally pictured as. But usually with mange, being a vet tech from years back, mange is, it's not going to make something get like a monkey type appearance to it. But it will put like real crusty patches on their skin. It's so irritating. It's just horribly irritating for these animals. And I mean, it's miserable for them. But it doesn't really change its bone type structure, that they're talking about here. No, that's, I don't know. I'm just finding fault in the whole kind of a thing. Could they get it? Of course, anything that has hair could experience mange. I mean, it's perfectly possible. It's a sarcoptic mite. It just, no. I just, the way that they're describing it, I don't know. For me personally, I just can pick things out of it and say, oh, I'm not so sure about that. But in any case, in Jacob's camera, it's a 2007 trail camera photo in Pennsylvania, showing a strange hairless creature that some hailed as a juvenile Bigfoot, while others argued it was clearly a manging bear. Possible. It's very, very possible. Report described a bizarre creature with very wrinkly skin, missing teeth, and patchy mohawk hair. Now, I got to tell you, as weird as that is, I would tend to really kind of go with more with that, um, because if an animal has mange that bad, it's going to affect other parts of his body as well. Um, the the mohawk type hair, patchy, missing teeth, wrinkly skin, that could all be signs of having a horrible case of mange, and it will affect them like that. Yes, that it could. While the legend of Bigfoot is deeply rooted in North American indigenous culture, mangy or sickly, hairless animals are often cited as a realistic, non-mythical explanation for these specific sightings. Well, and apparently in 2025 there was quite a number of these animals sighted. And what really puts me in the kind of a bit of a shock about it is, why are all these animals being affected by this sarcoptic mange? More than anything else, it's like, regardless of what the animal is, what's going on with such huge sightings of these animals having this situation? Is it environmental, helping to inspire more cases of it, or whatever? I don't know. I think I'd be more worried about actual animals that we know about, suffering with great increase in sarcoptic mange cases. But um, so anyway, I just kind of wanted to recap over 2025 a little bit and what's going on out there. Like I said, these are just my views, just kind of like a think tank to get you guys thinking about some stuff. Um, Everything is still coming to coming to light on especially with the UFO stuff coming up. That stuff is really coming on into light. But before I go, I just wanted to give some more reminders of the Paracomic-Con coming up, August 8th and 9th. Um, we got another good list of a lot of the celebs that came last year have decided to come back this year, which was amazing. I'm thrilled about that. And also, we have the Medieval Faith Fest coming up in November, and that has been extended out in the amount of time. Um, it's very possibly going to go from a 2-day event to a 3-day event. And, as the time comes closer, we'll have more information on that. That, of course, is in November. So I'd like to encourage everybody to see if you can come out to the Paracomic-Con, the Deep South Paracomic-Con on August 8th and 9th. And that is going to be in Enterprise, Alabama this year. Enterprise, Alabama. Absolutely beautiful place that it will be taking place at. And it's really, people are very, very excited about coming back to it again. A lot of our vendors, and it's just been wonderful, a wonderful relapse of last year with our vendors and stuff. So we're really excited about that. And so if you guys, have anything that you want to add, please do. I encourage that. Please come on and say something about anything that we talked about tonight. Now, hopefully, Devin will be back next week, and we're going to be talking about dark matter. Um, he's like a whiz on that stuff. And so, like I said, he was supposed to be here this week, but he did get sick. So we're going to have to put that off till next week. But thank you, all the guys that were here. Thank you so much for tuning in. We sure do appreciate it. And we'll be looking forward to talking to you again next week. Take care, and we'll see you next Tuesday, 7 o'clock Central Time. Thanks. Bye-bye.